One, two, three, four.
For LBC, I'm Simon Conway. The world's longest wedding dress was longer than the Grand National Racecourse. Think that's big? This Friday, the Euro Millions jackpot is a colossal £32 million. 32 million! Now that's big!
Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Amazing starts here. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with James O'Brien.
It is 5 minutes after 11. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Slightly different show today, given that we devoted the first half hour of the programme, or so actually, it was a little late arriving, to a fascinating conversation with David Miliband. I'm going to try and book him for my podcast, full disclosure, because it struck me as very, very interesting. I'm going to try and get Rory Stewart on it as well, actually, because he's a figure of great fascination, even as he quit the field of the Conservative leadership battle This week's is rather good, actually, Frank Skinner. I really, really liked him. I have to be honest with you, I was quite nervous about that interview because I'd been told it could be a little bit tricky, but we got on very well, and I thought it was a very interesting interview. Someone else I'm keen to talk to on the podcast is Nazir Afzal, who was the chief prosecutor in the Northwest. Mostly, or I think it's fair to say, more responsible than any other CPS lawyer for bringing those so-called grooming gangs to justice. And as such, he's someone who I think his legal opinion is always interesting. The thing about legal opinions is that they remain opinions, and lawyers disagree with each other, so indeed do judges. But oddly, I was thinking about it this morning because there's a horrible story about my own religion, the Catholic religion, and the most senior Catholic in the country has been strongly criticised by a child sexual abuse inquiry for placing the reputation of the church above the welfare of children when allegations were made against priests. It's, as you know, my school, my Catholic school, has already featured fairly prominently in the child sexual abuse inquiry, and it's the chairwoman of that independent inquiry who said that she was truly shocked by the scale of abuse within the Catholic Archdiocese of Birmingham over several decades. The diocese, oddly enough, into which my Catholic prep school fell, where 2 teachers are currently in prison for abusing children. She said that the church had failed to save children because it was determined to protect its reputation. It's grisly reading for Cardinal Vincent Nichols, and it should be a source of national shame and outrage, in the same way that we all feel shame and outrage about the girls and young women who were abused and raped by the so-called grooming gangs in the north of England. And I still can't get my head around how stories like this appear in our news on a regular basis and don't prompt massive outpourings of empathy and outrage. Empathy for the victims and outrage for the perpetrators. It's why I'm struggling to go to church since the inquiry into my own school was published. And yet, when the offenders are portrayed as Muslim, you can pretty much, you could heat a house with the fury that would appear on my inbox within moments. And I guess that feeds in, oddly, to the conversation that we're having today about hypocrisy and double standards. It's not about the behaviour anymore, it seems to me, increasingly. And I really don't think I'm guilty of this, but maybe I am. Maybe nobody thinks they're guilty of it, they just think everybody else is. But I don't feel more disgusted by the behaviour of a Muslim sex offender than I do by a Catholic sex offender. I speak as a Catholic. I'm not going to stick up for the ones who ostensibly belong to the same faith as me. I just don't get it. But as you look at footage of a Conservative MP, in the words of Nazir Afzal, the former chief prosecutor in the northwest of England, it's an assault and should be charged as such. There is no justification for this. No question, he adds. I disagree with the last line. There's always a question. That's why we've got lawyers, Nazir. But it doesn't seem to me that much of the coverage, and I'm not going to sort of name names, but a lot of the coverage seems to have nothing to do with an analysis of the behaviour and everything to do with the identity of the protagonists. And that's a recipe for absolute disaster. Oh, thank goodness for you, Eddie. You just dropped me a text saying, why is it that I think I have everything in black and white all sorted out, and then I listen to you and I haven't got a clue which way up I am? Whether you're rubbing me up the wrong way or whether I'm agreeing with you, James. It's a show like no other. Thanks. ... I think. Well, I get why you've added the I think. Because it must be quite reassuring just to not think. And just to go, what colour's my scarf? Okay. What's the bloke who's grabbed the woman? Yeah, he's a Tory, is he? Right. And she's an environment protester. Right, yeah. Absolutely fine. She's lucky he didn't go further. What if she'd had a suicide vest strapped to her dress? Yes. And then you end up like the fellow who ran from the fire line. Just the vaguest question. And then you end up lying through your teeth and then hanging up humiliated. It's quite incredible. Like the bloke who rang in earlier this week, again, pick a side. I was suggesting that Boris Johnson is hiding from scrutiny. A statement of fact. His own people are deliberately trying to keep him away from cameras. Poor soul rings in from Salford, claiming that, just talking absolute gibberish, because he saw the story. He saw that Boris Johnson was getting a little bit of jip, and he thought, right, to arms. It's just madness. And I don't know how it ends. Natalie's in Hackney. Natalie, what made you pick up the phone?
Hello.
Hello, Natalie. What's on your mind?
Hi, James. Hi. It's really in regards to the Mark Field.
Yes. Had you heard of him before?
I had never heard of him before, and the only basically last night when my partner came in and he was on looking at his phone, so oh my god, and I said, what? It's just territorial. He just grabbed the lady and sort of thrown her. The way he didn't go into detail,
sure.
But I just thought, oh right, what's happening?
Yes.
And only when I sort of saw it with my own two eyes, I felt like cold inside. I just felt, my God, this is happening. This man, twice beside her,
yes.
cracking a woman by the throat, and then frog marching her all the way through the hall.
Yes. Well, in the same room, and this must be why the other people at his table don't look remotely alarmed by the approach of the woman. In the same room, other female protesters are being escorted from the space by other male, I presume members of staff rather than guests, perhaps, or maybe there are other guests as well, without any of the aggression or the behaviour that you described. So that's the worst bit to emerge actually since this story broke.
Well, yes, and I mean, the thing that that got me was to hear the protesters shouting, peaceful protest, and James, to be quite honest with you, all this sort of he's come out now. He's referred himself to the cabinet?
Yes, the cabinet office.
He's done that immediately.
Well, he apologised unreservedly. I give him credit for that. He has apologised. He's not claiming that she's a suicide bomber or phoning up from the Faroe Islands to tell lies. He's apologised unreservedly.
James, something, I do understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you now, as a person, I've been on the receiving end of domestic violence for a long time. Well, not anymore, but, for when I was younger, 2 relationships, and this is exactly what they do. Apologise unreservedly, and are quite together. I've been taken by the person who abused me to hospital, where they admitted to it was my fault, and apologising unreservedly until, wanting to know whether it's going to be reported or not. I'm sorry, this is like classic. If the way he just sprang into action and grabbed that lady by the throat.
It certainly stopped me in my tracks. And I asked the last caller what his politics were, and I'm going to ask you the same. Would you describe yourself as left, right, or neither?
I'd say left, left centre a bit, but
well, he said centre right, and he was sort of defending Mark. It's so weird.
I just think it's abominable. This is where we've come now.
But if it was Tom Watson or David Miliband or Ed Miliband or Chris Bryant, but I wouldn't feel any different. I know I wouldn't feel any different.
Of course not. Do you know what? If it was, I've got quite a few male relatives in my family, and I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear that. I don't even want, even that tone to be used, to your wife or your girlfriend.
That's what I would have. Hey, here's the thing, Nat. Do you want to play a little game?
Yeah, no.
Guess who said this in May? Okay, you ready?
Yeah, go on.
It said in the House of Commons, the UK remains committed to helping women all over the world to feel safe and protected in the work they do, so they can speak freely and be part of the change we all want. Who do you think said that in May? On 9th of May, 2019.
Don't say it again, please. Was it? No, don't.
Totally.
Who's that?
Mark Field, mate.
He's... Oh, God.
I'll let you do the side today, Natalie. I think I might have a morning off. Thank you very much indeed. It's 11:15.
This is LBC. Pets in a Pickle have your pets covered with pet insurance policies as unique as they are. Visit petsinApickle.co.uk.
Feeling peckish? Introducing the Snack Geolocator Slingshot. Simply pull on your horn, open your window, and wait for the yummy goodness to find your exact location.
Oh dear, the Snack Geolocator Slingshot will never happen. But with a new BP Me Rewards card, getting more of the snacks you love more often will. Search BP Me Rewards to find out more. BP, every day, brighter.
A big shout out to Alfie, who's just completed his big plumbing contract early, but doesn't need those extra vans anymore. That must be driving him round the U-bend.
If only you'd hide them with Northgate. Their flexible plans let you return any vans that aren't earning their keep.
So they're no longer a drain on your bank account.
Exactly. Northgate call it Vanonomics.
For smart ways to hire vans for your business, search Northgate Vehicle Hire.
Alan won £15,500 from Lloyds for his missold investment thanks to Goodwin Barrett. If Lloyds or any other bank sold you an investment that lost money, start your quick assessment to discover how much you could be owed. Text GOOD to 60777. Text GOOD to 60777 now.
Get Vodafone's double data deal this summer. We're giving away double data on all pay monthly smartphones. Yes, all pay monthly smartphones. Now a huge 30 gig for the price of 15, starting at only £30 a month. Double the selfie sharing, double the playlist pumping, and double the maps mapping. To get double data, go online or in-store today. The future's exciting. Ready? Vodafone. Terms and details at vodafone.co.uk/summer. Ends 9th of July.
Muscular pain can last all day and night. Ouch! And Eurofen's new pain relief can do the same. Introducing the UK's only clinically proven 24-hour ibuprofen patch. It delivers ibuprofen directly to the site of pain for all day and all night pain relief. Nurofen Joint and Muscular Pain Relief Medicated Plaster contains ibuprofen for short-term pain relief of muscle strains and sprains close to the joint of upper or lower limb. Always read the label.
The Audi A4 Saloon Black Edition has dark matte titanium alloy wheels. It has a sleek black grille, a discreet black spoiler, blackened privacy glass, and black leather Alcantara upholstery. So you see, when it comes to style, with the Audi A4 Saloon Black Edition, there are no grey areas. Available for £299 per month with an initial rental of £1,794. Offer ends 30th of June 2019. Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik. Business users only. Excludes VAT at 20%. 48-month contract hire. T's and C's apply. No ownership. Audi Financial Services. Visit audi.co.uk. James O'Brien on LBC.
18 minutes after 11 is the time. I'm looking at this Markfield story, inevitably, like everybody else is this morning, but I'm trying to perhaps take a step back from the fray and just ask whether I'm 47. I still feel very young in the context of experience and changing my mind about things and enjoying the discovery of new things. But I don't think it used to be like this. I'm trying to think back to an example of a Labour MP. There was when John Prescott punched the protester that had thrown an egg at him. That seemed to me to be perfectly reasonable response. Someone had thrown an egg at him. He was under attack. If Farage had taken a swing at the bloke who threw a milkshake at him, I think it would have been understandable, don't you? And my opinion of Nigel Farage is not very hard to work out. Also, the milkshake phase. Is there an example here? And I've got one in the back of my mind, but it's a little bit close up. So I shall hold off on necessarily sharing that just yet. So, I mean, it seems to me that if you are defending Mark Field this morning, you're doing so because you somehow think he's on your side. I'd love you to give me a ring and tell me your side of what? 03456060973. These whatabouterists saying things like, well, what if it had been the other way round? Or what if it had been a man? Or what if she had a gun? The point is that she isn't a man. She didn't have a gun, and it wasn't the other way around. So if you're trying to justify behaviour by saying, well, something completely different might have happened, give your head a wobble. No? Or am I missing the point? I mean, do you walk around the place treating everybody as if they might have a gun? And why didn't all the other men in the room get as frightened and as furious as Mark Field did? Why did the other men in the room who escorted the female protesters from the space manage to do so in a way that has been filmed and hasn't offended anybody? And I take that point on board, actually, from the last caller, Natalie. He might have apologised unreservedly. It doesn't mean he means it. And the press release that goes along with that apology sounds an awful lot to me like the opposite of unreserved apology. It sounds highly reserving, if that's even a word. 20 minutes after 11 is the time. John's in Chichester. John, what would you like to say?
James, time again on the BBC News channel. And Mark Field did not act distinctively. If you watch the game closely, he actually picked his moment. He was prepared. He knew that lady was going to walk past him. He knew he carried a position. He was like a lion pounding on a gazelle. But he didn't really.
You can't get all David Attenborough on me, John, honestly.
If you look what he did, and I'm more concerned about the females in that room still finding nothing. So I'd like to ask this question. Would it be okay if a burly male bigger than Mark Field had a rugby tackled him and then said, oh, I thought he was going to assault that woman, he was going over the top? I think that man would have been quite within his rights to attack Mark Field and say, well, he was assaulting the woman because Mark Field used that as an excuse that she may have assaulted somebody. So if he can do it, why can't it be done to him?
Right, and I presume, perhaps wrongly, that you identify politically as leaning a little bit more to the left than to the right?
That's actually the description which I think like vegetarian should be abolished. My politics is fairness for everybody and equality for everybody. Not left, not right. Just human compassion and being a human being. That's my politics.
Some people would say that was left. Oddly enough, I'm not one of them. There's plenty of people who are right-wing that also believe in fairness and equality. They're just very quiet at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the world is changing and it's frightening.
Is it changing or has it always been like this? I don't know. How old are you?
I think, well, I'm in my 30s, but I remember when we had, after the First World War, or after 9/11, when the comment was used, you're either with us or against us.
Yes.
I think that phrase is more resonant today than any time.
Yeah, possibly it is, and yet in the context of fundamentalist terrorism, it's easy to pick a flipping side. It's just, or is it though? Because of course there's plenty of people who think that by picking a side in that context, you are compelled to be vile about all Muslims, which brings us back to that bizarre call from the Faroe Islands claiming that the man in receipt of more threats and security problems than I think any other politician in the country, Sadiq Khan, is somehow responsible for making politicians less safe. And again, I'm sorry to pick on the fella, but it did ring in. It's not just that people could have arrived at that school of thought that falls apart so completely under the scantest scrutiny, but not just to have arrived at that thought, like you're in the pub and you say it, but to think, I'm going to ring a national radio station and say, I don't want to sound ungrateful, I love getting these calls, it helps me understand the world around me. But John's right, isn't he? You just don't do that. How do you know that you don't do that? Well, there was lots of other female protesters in the room, and all the men that dealt with them managed to do so without doing what Mark Field did. And his defenders, it's just gibberish. She might have had a gun. Everyone in the room might have had a gun. So that she might have done this, she might have done that, she might have been a man. Culminating in Joe Cox's memory being cited in defence of a man who attacked a woman. If you really had to pick something, as David Miliband was saying earlier, about if someone had said a few years ago that this could happen, that somebody with Donald Trump's record could end up in the White House, you probably would have laughed. It does all feel linked. I'm not quite sure how. That might well be the subject of my next book. I hope my publisher's not listening. If I ever get around to signing for it. The time is 24 minutes after 11. Adrian is in Bristol. Adrian, what the heck is going on?
Well, I think whoever can come up with the answer to that is surely in line for a hefty payday. I think it comes back to, well, I think there are many nuanced things that are going on in the world right now, and I think that there is, in trying to make sense of it, I think in certain places it can be oversimplified. But I think one thing that is really useful is your term of footballification of wider discourse, and that really rang true when you were talking about people feeling the need to pick sides.
I'm just gonna pause you there. I'll be right back. I promise. Mark Field has just been suspended as a minister. I suspect he's wishing he probably made that decision himself. It would have looked a lot better. But there we are. Some breaking news for you. Mark Field has been suspended as a minister. Presumably people somewhere, hopefully one of them will ring me. Well, if he'd been a woman, he wouldn't have had to be suspended, or some such nonsense, but we are where we are. The thing about the footballification, Adrian, and I hope I invented that word, I shall certainly be claiming that I did if nobody can The thing about that is I can actually get my head around that. But I don't know. When I spoke to Steve a few weeks ago, I don't know if you were listening, it was when he said his wife was Indian, that I found myself thinking, well, I don't know what side you think you're on. Because if I had to define my side, I'd have said what the Irish fellow John just said a minute ago. I'd have just said fairness and equality within the bounds of plausibility and possibility. I just don't think people should be treated differently because they're brown or black or any other colour under the sun. And then he said, but my wife's Indian. So what side do Mark Field's defenders think that they're on? I don't know anymore.
I don't know. I think there's an element of, you may begin in an orientation or having a side that, you back your team through thick and thin, and, you stand by them through the ups and the downs, and even though you're spouting this stuff that is, you feel like you're doing the right thing by your team, do you necessarily 100%, well, do you acknowledge what you're actually saying and the ramifications?
Well, you clearly don't, because that's how your poor fellow ended up. And listen, on any other programme, he'd have been able to, not on any other programme, but on plenty of other programmes, he would have been able to bang on uninterrupted, say things that aren't true. And then when you say, mate, that's not, oh, let me finish, but you're talking gibberish. That would have gone unchecked and unchallenged, which is perhaps why people never stop to actually examine the sources of their own positions. They picked a side, they've started lobbying, and you're not allowed to ask why. If you ask why, you're condescending, sneering, sanctimonious, Ramona, or whatever it was the song called.
It's also, I mean, if it was like to extend the idea of football just a little bit. I mean, I'm a Tottenham fan, and if on Derby Day, if it's on the North London Derby Day, I start extolling the virtues of the way Unai Emery picks his teams. I'm going to get shot. I'm going to get laughed out now.
Yes, just for the record, when you said shots, that was a figure of speech. Don't phone the police, Nigel. Don't phone the police, Nigel. It's a joke, all right? Carry on.
Absolutely.
And there it is. And I get it with Arsenal Spurs. You don't care, but what side do the people defending this geezer who's now been suspended by his own employers? What side do they think they're on? Thank you, Adrian. I'll take calls in answer to that question. I'm carrying on with this for a little bit longer because the story is developing and it makes a blessed change in talking about the Tory leadership campaign. If I'm describing you, give me a call. We don't have to be enemies. Surely we can both be on the side of human beings who don't think men should assault women without good reasons. And it's very, very hard to think of a good reason, but being a climate change protester just can't be a good reason. Especially not when the room's full of men dealing with other women protesting who are not being manhandled in this way. It is an astonishing little development. It almost goes without saying. I don't know if you've come across this bloke, Brendan O'Neill, but in a way I kind of envy you if you haven't. So the jokes of a type started earlier by assaulting Mark Field's hand with her throat. A rather excellent Twitter account called Twill Dunn made this joke. By assaulting Mark Field's hand with her throat, the intolerant Green movement once again showed their hatred of free speech and debate. My latest piece for spite. Now, I can still say with a degree of certainty that that's a joke. And then a little later on, hi, Fraser Nelson. Fraser Nelson edits The Spectator. He says, it's been 40 minutes since footage emerged of Mark Field violently manhandling a protester, and you haven't published a column from Brendan O'Neill saying it's the logical conclusion of Liberals milkshaking Nigel Farage. Is he ill? And that was 40 minutes after the event. Fast forward to this morning, and The Spectator have just published a piece on their website, The Moral Arrogance of the Mansion House Climate Protesters by Brendan O'Neill. Makes a living, I suppose. It's also 11:30. Here's Simon Conway with your headlines.
Downing Street says Mark Field has been suspended as a Foreign Office Minister while he's investigated after he was accused of assaulting a climate change protester. He's apologised to the Greenpeace activist after he was filmed grabbing her by the back of her neck and marching her out of a black-tie dinner in London last night. 44 people have been arrested by detectives investigating non-recent allegations of child sexual abuse in West Yorkshire. The alleged offences date back to between 1995 and 2002. All have been released under investigation. Bank of Scotland has been fined £45 million by the city regulator. The FCA says the bank failed to report suspicions of fraud at a branch in Reading over a scam between 2003 and 2007. LBC weather, fine and dry for many across England and Wales, with plenty of warm sunshine, sunny spells and showers for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, a high of 21 degrees.
LBC. Paul bumped his knee against the kitchen door. Hashtag exclamation mark. He yelled, at which point his wife burst in, then bumped the door against his knee again. Ampersand, hashtag asterisk, yelled Paul. Swearing, a bad habit, but it can help us tolerate pain until we can find something longer lasting, like new Nurofen joint and muscular medicated patches for clinically proven 24-hour pain relief. Nurofen joint and muscular pain relief medicated plasters contain ibuprofen for pain relief. Always read the label.
Some people find love by chance. I found love in my Citroen dealership. I looked at new Citroen C5 Aircross SUV with advanced comfort seats, and boom! They said, pay £1,794 up front, then £299 a month for 35 months. I loved it. Visit your local Citroen dealership and find love too. New Citroen C5 Aircross SUV.
Citroen UK Limited, a credit broker, not a lender, offer on pure type 136-speed manual, 10,000 miles per annum. You won't take the car. Personal contract, high terms, eligibility, return conditions apply. TSA Finance UK Limited.
Radio, playlists, and podcasts. There are thousands of great podcasts to choose from. Find your favorite.
Global Player. Download it from your App Store now.
I want to live in a world where we still have polar bears, where we reduce CO2 emissions. I want to live in a beautiful world. If you want to help fight climate change, get a smart meter. They can't solve climate change on their own, but with a smarter, more energy-efficient grid they help to create, they're a start. Search I Want a Smart Meter or call 0300 131 5555 today for the campaign for a smarter grid.
Eligibility may vary. Available in England, Scotland, and Wales. Calls from UK landlines and mobiles charged at standard rate.
Here's a question. Will you bask in the cobalt Caribbean or sleep beneath the ice cliffs of Alaska? And which view will you sip your afternoon tea to? The New York skyline or the Norwegian fjords? And then what? To dine, to dance, to swim, or to simply promenade? Or perhaps you prefer to enjoy nothing. Not even a cloud between you and the moon. Nothing. Except your every need. Sail beyond your imagination. Visit Cunard.com for exclusive offers on selected voyages. ABTA and ATOL protected.
Clearance at John Lewis and Partners Oxford Street is now on. There are thousands of great offers from kitchen and homeware to fashion and beauty, as well as expert advice from our partners and a minimum 2-year guarantee on all our electricals. More of what you love for less. Clearance now on.
If a bank or a financial advisor sold you an investment that lost money, don't just think, well, there's nothing I can do about it now. Because it might have been missold, and you could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. At Goodwin Barrett, we can do a quick check to discover how much you could be owed. All you have to do to start your investment assessment with Goodwin Barrett is text GOOD to 60777. Text GOOD to 60777 now.
Let's hear it for Bouncer, the German Shepherd. She's a champion chewer of tennis balls, but she didn't know to swallow it. Luckily, Pets in a Pickle had Bouncer covered, and now she's bounced right back with a bigger ball. For pet insurance policies as unique as they are, visit petsinaapickle.co.uk. James O'Brien on LBC.
It is 26 minutes to 12. I like this story, and I'd be interested to know what you think about it. A school has been forced to apologise. There's apologies to the left of me, apologies to the right of me, after pupils were given a questionnaire in which they were asked to name the best-looking classmates. I'm never quite sure what snowflake means. I did a phone-in the other day about what is a snowflake, but no one could tell me, really, because it seemed to me that phoning the police over a Joe Brand joke was pathetic, and I thought that's what snowflake meant. But oddly, I've only really heard the word being used by people who would be on the side of anyone who calls for the police to get involved in an investigation of a joke. I thought that was snowflake, so it was quite an odd exercise. So I also do subscribe to the school of thought that we should, as adults, look after children. We should care for them. We should remember that they are not as robust or as thick-skinned as we are, and while you might feel it's important to help them become resilient. You probably wouldn't agree that the best way to do that would be to bully, insult, and abuse them. It's a bit like that smacking debate. That'll be next. Actually, the way things are going, we'll be calling for children to be smacked again soon. The political correctness gone mad. And then the question I was asking people who in to defend their decision to assault their own children is, would you do that to your husband or your wife? If they got on your nerves or they did something you didn't like, would you give them a punch or a slap? Or, I've never forgiven my mother for this, pull their pants down in the middle of Rackhams in Birmingham and smack their bare buttocks. Wouldn't have minded, I was 27. It's 11:36, you're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. And we'll get onto that story later. Because I'm not being deliberately provocative. I never am. It's just accidentally provocative. I think that and I've tried to find out the full details of this, and the school has obviously apologised and withdrawn this awards nomination form. So it was year 9, which I think is probably even more problematical. That's what, 13 and 14-year-olds asked to vote for best looking, best couple, biggest ego, biggest poser. I'm going to do this later, and I'm going to tell you now, my initial view of this story is it's perfectly harmless as long as they only revealed the winners. I'll tell you why a little later in the programme, but I want to turn your attention next to a story that I've been threatening to discuss all week. And I'm not sure, it's why I've already told you what we'll be doing afterwards, because I'm not sure where this will go, or indeed whether it will go anywhere. I'm thinking of the poor woman who was hit by an outrider of the royal family. And it is, hand on heart, a conversation that I had been talked out of having on the radio by the producer of this programme, Ava. Because I came into work about, what was it, about a month ago? It's because Mrs. O'Brien was getting very aerated. Is that the right word? Getting very, very concerned about our part of London. I live in a part of London called Chiswick, and it's on the road to Heathrow, and also, essentially, it's actually on the road to Windsor, more importantly. As you know, Windsor and Heathrow aren't that far apart. American tourists famously observe. Why did they build the castle so near to the airport? But Mrs. O'Brien has, for some time now, been expressing profound displeasure about the speed and the scale of the so-called convoys that go through our part of town at a rate of knots. And it's not just the convoy, it's the outriders, the police officers blowing, they can make you jump. Do you ever jump? You know, when you just sort of go, jump, like that makes you jump sometimes. The whistle is just not a noise you're used to. So you've got the bikes weaving in and out of traffic, everyone has to pull over and stop. The car goes through at breakneck speed with about 3 in a row, a couple of Range Rovers and some BMW motorbikes. And Mrs. O'Brien, I kid you not, she's never wrong, but sometimes she's even more right than usual. Mrs. O'Brien said to me about a month or two ago, she said, someone's going to get hurt. And we were, at the time, having a bit of a love-in for Harry and Meghan. Sort of, you know, someone says, make a refreshing change. They seem to inhabit the 21st century. How lovely. And the royal member of the royal family is married. Someone who didn't appear to have come from Stepford. This is marvellous. And this was casting something of a shadow over our enthusiasm for Harry and Meghan, because we presumed it was mostly them, given that they now live out Windsor way, and that was the direction of the traffic that these convoys were heading. And I mention it because there was a marked uptick in the amount of these convoys that we have encountered along our town. And it has now happened, that bad thing, that someone has got hurt. An elderly woman remains, an 83-year-old woman remains in a serious condition in hospital after a member of the marked police motorbike convoy accompanying Prince William and Kate to Windsor from London was hurt. This happened on Monday. And it happened, do you know, it's not actually that far. If you give a hoot about stuff like this, you know that my relationship with roads and motoring is strained, to say the least. But it's actually quite near where Parkman got himself into bother last year as well. I know this road very well. There's a phrase you never hear me say on the radio again. Kensington Palace said the royal couple were deeply concerned and saddened and had been in touch with the woman. It's not just the royal convoys, it's also going to be diplomatic. I think they have a degree of freedom in these contexts. And I preface everything that follows with deep and genuine concern for the welfare of the woman. and I hope that she is fully recovered and back on her feet soon. We all know, of course, that as you get older, you become a little less robust, you bounce back a little less quick. But I don't think they need this. I really don't think they need it. I'm not anywhere near as Republican in my outlook as I used to be. One of the things that comes with age, if you don't turn your mind off and you carry on thinking, is I think you retreat, unless it's Jeremy Corbyn, you retreat from an absolutism. You retreat from the idea that, you know, letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, in other words. So yeah, I don't think in an ideal world I'd be raising my daughters in a country where an accident at birth gets you anointed as a princess. Especially in a Disney-flavoured world where being a princess is pretty much the sum total of ambition expressed by half of the characters in the most popular films on the planet. But that's a by the by. They don't do harm, the royal family. They mostly do good. And the nature of celebrity being what it is, I quite like the cut of their jib these days. The younger generation, God save us all from Prince Andrew. But Prince Harry seems to be quite a cool dude. I like the cut of his jib. And William, yeah, could be worse. Could be Prince Andrew. And all of that said, why do they need these convoys? Do you know? I mean, is it just going to be a very short phone in this because someone who's an outrider will ring in and say, no, James. That's why I'm holding back slightly from really setting out my stall. But they can't really ever be late for anything, can they? The royal family. Because no one's going to pack up and go home if they haven't turned up. It's not like Chris Edwards' birthday party in 1984. When we were about 20 minutes late and they'd already left. The minibus had gone to Silver Blades in Edgbaston for an ice skating party. How I cried. I never forgive my dad for that. I kept saying to him, it's not a normal party, Dad. We can't be late. They're going to Silver Blades. Go to Silver Blades in Edgbaston for an ice skate. And Dad was like, just let me finish listening to the headlines or whatever it was. And we got there 20 minutes late. There's a flipping note on his door. So we've already gone. I said, can you take me to Silver Blades? He goes, no, of course I can't. 45 minutes away and I've got to take your sister to another party up the road. Do you think I should have got over that right now? Yeah, probably. But the point is, they're never going to, the royal family can't be late, by definition. I mean, even if they missed a plane, scheduled departure, they'd probably hold the plane. I've never actually been on the train to King's Lynn. I catch it quite often. The Queen catches it as well. Why can't they catch a train to Windsor? All right, that's a little excessive. But they do not need a convoy of multiple Range Rovers and half a dozen big beefy bikes, do they? Or do they? 0345 6060 973. 11:43 is the time. The question, that's the first one, do they really need this in this day and age? I don't understand why they're always in such a hurry. Why are they always in such a hurry? They don't have a live radio programme to present, or they're not on the school run. They've got people to do all of that. It seems to me to be really self-important. And I say this as an admirer of this generation of royals. So if you know more about this, or you just want to chuck your 2 pence into the mix, you know what to do. 0345 6060 973. And I'll also take your stories, actually, because I think the knighthood is probably long gone. I don't know. My friend Natasha Devon got an MBE the other day. I was just looking at her tweet. I should read it to you, actually, on the Mark Field subject. She says, when I volunteered in domestic violence refuges, people who had been beaten by their partners, told me that when they finally opened up to friends, they were asked, what did you do to make him or her so angry? And Natasha Devon, MBE, suggests that's the thick end of the Mark Field wedge. I'm glad I remembered to read that out. It's a really important point. But I don't think the knighthood is going to be winging its way to Chiswick anytime soon. So, have you ever been struck by the obnoxiousness of these royal or diplomatic convoys? Or even, have you ever been hurt by one? 0345 6060 973. And can we have a proper contemplation of whether or not they're necessary? You know, normally it's ambulances, it's emergency services that have that sort of power on the roads. Why on earth does Prince William need it? It's 11:45.
Eddie Mayer, Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. on LBC.
Here's what Boris Johnson said about his own mandate.
A new government with a new mandate, a new earnestness, a new determination to get things done.
Here's more of what he said in 2007 about Gordon Brown. The extraordinary thing is that it looks as though he will now be in 10 Downing Street for 3 years without a mandate from the British people.
And Boris Johnson called for an immediate general election.
Eddie Mayer, Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. LBC.
Imagine, if you can, days that get longer by the minute and warmer by the mile. Imagine, if you can, a horizon that falls further away the closer you draw to it. Now consider looking up. Picture the rotation of a cloudless, infinite sky. And as the sun slinks away into the sea, that same sky becoming bejeweled with stars. Now, turn up the music and dance until dawn. Sail beyond your imagination. The Transatlantic Crossing by Cunard. Discover more at cunard.com. ABDA and ATOL protected.
You can complain free to your lender or the financial ombudsman about missold PPI. Alternatively, if you haven't got the time or the inclination, then just get the claims guys to manage the claims process for you. With the August 29th deadline approaching, time's at a premium anyway. So if you can't find your paperwork or you're not even sure you have PPI, it's definitely time to make a decision and start your PPI claim before it's too late. Text ANSWER to 66777. Text ANSWER to 66777 now.
The claims guys.
In the middle of a job you just have to finish? Need something fast? B&Q 1 Hour Click and Collect will have it ready for you in store. Simply order online at DIY.com. You click it, we'll pick it, you collect it. Fast, easy and convenient click and collect. You can do it when you're B&Q it. Selecting products and location restrictions apply.
I want to live in a world where we still have polar bears, where we reduce CO2 emissions. I want to live in a beautiful world. If you want to help fight climate change, get a smart meter. They can't solve climate change on their own, but with a smarter, more energy-efficient grid they help to create, they're a start. Search I Want a Smart Meter or call 0300 131 5555 today for the campaign for a smarter grid.
Eligibility may vary. Available in England, Scotland and Wales. Calls from UK landlines and mobiles charged at a standard rate.
Some people find love by chance. I found love in my Citroen dealership. I looked at new Citroen C5 Aircross SUV with advanced comfort seats, and boom! They said, pay £1,794 up front, then £299 a month for 35 months. I love it. Visit your local Citroen dealership and find love too. New Citroen C5 Aircross SUV.
Citroen UK Limited, a credit broker, not a lender, offer on pure type 136-speed manual, 10,000 miles per annum. You won't own the car. Personal contract high terms, eligibility and return conditions apply. TSA Finance UK Limited.
So I still remember the feeling of walking into my GCSEs. I think the weeks before, I kind of thought good was going to be good enough. But then I remember in the final lesson before the exams, our teacher left notes on our desks. Mine said, if you're going to think at all, think big. And if you're going to think big, think bigger. I was thinking small, but she inspired me to think otherwise.
Teaching. Every lesson shapes a life. There's still time to apply for teacher training this September. To register, search Get Into Teaching. Alan won £15,500 from Lloyds for his missold investment thanks to Goodwin Barrett. If Lloyds or any other bank sold you an investment that lost money, start your quick assessment to discover how much you could be owed. Text GOOD to 60777. Text GOOD to 60777 now. This is LBC with James O'Brien. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
11:49 is the time. This has been rather splendidly summed up by a Twitter account called Spiller of Tea. Nigel Farage hit with milkshake. This violent assault must not go unpunished. Joe Brown jokes about throwing acid. Sack her, lock her up. Mark Field aggressively assaults woman on camera. To be fair, she did interrupt his dinner. And that's where we are now with this side picking. But anyway, I shall leave that for my colleagues to pick over. In the course of the day, if you're just tuning in and you're familiar with the tale of the Tory MP grabbing a peaceful climate change protester by the throat, female, I think that's pertinent. Not everybody does, I acknowledge that. Then you should know that he has now been suspended. But we're not talking about it. We're talking about royal convoys. We're talking, with respect, about the 83-year-old woman who I think is still in hospital after being hit by one of the motorcyclists on Prince William and his wife's motorcade. That's the word I've been searching for all morning. Motorcade, not convoy. It's a much better word. Convoy makes me think of Smokey and the Bandit. Motorcade. Why? Why do they need it? They, by definition, are never going to be late for anything. Can you imagine turning up to open a school and they say, oh, sorry, we were expecting you at 11 o'clock, Your Highness. Everyone's gone home. It's just never going to happen. You'll be waiting there for 30 days. Anyway, I digress. Dave's in Chichester. Dave, what's going on?
Hi, James. Long time no speak. When I used to drive through London years ago, I was coming down the Mall and I was stuck in traffic, and it's night time. And I saw the outriders with their lights flashing, and cheeky so-and-so sort of nipped out of the traffic. I thought I'll cut through by...
I'm just going to pause you briefly here. I need to have a quick word with the producer. We need to be very careful that we're not setting up motoring anecdotes. All right? I know. I'm just saying, because Dave's all right. He's solid. He'll play the game. But as a general rule, you've been away for a few days. You might have forgotten some of the most basic premises of this program. We don't do motoring anecdotes. Tell me if you ever had a parking ticket that was really unfair. Or why can't you drive as fast as you want? Or isn't Jeremy Clarkson great? We're not doing any of that, all right? There's plenty of that on phone and radio, not on my watch. Sorry, Dave, where were we?
I promise you it's not that. So anyway, I was sitting there, and this cheeky so-and-so decided to sort of follow the motorbike rider so he could cut the queue.
Yeah.
And I was just so incensed by this that as they went past, I flipped them the bird. And I turned around, and then there was rather shocked and confused looking little old woman staring back at me. And it was the Queen.
You gave the Queen the finger. Do you know, it's not that long ago, you'd have been in the Tower of London for the rest of your natural, mate. And frankly, I would have been approving. I'd have been cheering you all the way to the dungeon.
I know, and I'd like to apologise reservedly to Her Majesty. She was traumatised by this, but I didn't know it was her.
Do you know something weird? And I think in the interest of full disclosure, it's quite nice to be a bit inconsistent and sort of all over the place. I've got less of a problem with the Queen having a motorcade than I have with Prince William having one.
Yeah, I suppose she's more important. She's the head of state.
I don't, but it's even less likely that people are going to pack up and go home if she's running a bit late. It's just never going to happen. Why do you know why they need one, Dave? Do they need one at all?
I would have thought in a city like London, that there's a security risk if they're sitting still in traffic. So I can understand.
So someone like you, so obviously, you only flick to the bird, but someone else might actually try and get in the car?
Yeah, well, someone got into a bedroom once, didn't they?
No, it's a good point. They did. If you're not familiar with that story, look it up. Can you remember his name, Dave? I can. That's the nature of my memory. Can you remember his name? Dave's gone. My fault. I said goodbye. It's generally a fairly reliable indication of the conversation being over. I'm 99% sure he's called Michael Fagan. But it's an amazing story, this. I'm working with the very young people these days, so I sometimes take a moment out to bring them up to speed with developments that occurred more than 27 years ago. Michael Fagan got into the Queen's bedroom. Seriously. Look at they're looking at each other. How old are you, Callum? I don't know how old you are. Okay, see, I've got a 20-year-old working with me today, and I've got a 25-year-old producer. So their combined age is 2 years younger than me. That's not right. I should have something in my contract about it. I could not fit. You're 20 years, so you were born in 1999. Good grief. I remember that was just, anyway. So the thing is, Callum, my 20-year-old friend, Michael Fagan, somehow, no one quite knows how, I think he climbed over the wall, and he just went for a wander around the grounds. He found a door, he went through. He ended up in the Queen's bedroom in the middle of the night, to quote Billy Joel. And she has a panic button in her bed. And David reminds us there that maybe they do need this massive motorcade in order to feel more secure. I don't know. We'll examine the question in the course of what follows. Hayley is in Horsham. Hayley, what would you like to say?
Hello, James.
Hello, Hayley.
I would say there's two types of convoy. You have your overt and your covert convoys, and obviously we're talking about your overt ones, all the bells and whistles.
Certainly are.
Primary reason that they would have that is for their safety. A moving vehicle is less likely to be attacked, and that would be their primary reason. Obviously, that
But if you don't know their schedule, you don't know where they're going, they're not really running any risk of being attacked, are they?
I think they could be. They are high risk targets.
Well, but it wouldn't be around. You mean someone's just going to see them and think I'm going to attack them?
No, you would obviously have had a plan. There's all types of different threats. You've got insider threats.
Yeah. I hope you're not closing this conversation down because I'm quite enjoying it. But it sounds like this is your field of expertise.
It is. I come from a Royal Military Police Coast Protection background, and I have a company which specialises in coast protection doing surveillance, penetration testing. So, yeah.
Right. You don't employ Mark Field, I hope.
No, he's not one of mine.
You could have done with a little bit of training, I think, and then he wouldn't have embarrassed himself quite so spectacularly. So, okay, I'm just trying to think of a response. I've not got a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. There were rumours when I was on the gossip columns that Prince Philip had a black cap. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did. I have heard that.
And because that allowed him to sort of, you know, why on earth he wanted to be tooling around the capital incognito, which will have to wait for the biographies to establish. But he could get in a black cab and he enjoyed enormous freedom as he made his way around London, and of course a very tight turning circle. So,
and use the bus lanes.
Yes, and use the bus lanes as well. So they don't need. I think Stephen Fry's got one as well. They don't need. Do you really? When you see a car with like 3 or 4 vehicles with the outriders as well, how much of that is strictly necessary?
Well, I suppose it also depends who's in the convoy.
Well, let's say Prince William's in it. Prince William's in it.
But then is he going to have his...
But the nannies don't need to be in the convoy, do they? They're not a security risk.
They might be taken on a family trip. So they, you know, I think they would have a genuine entourage. They're going to have their case protection team in there. I think it's fair.
You do, don't you? You know, you'd be talking yourself out of a job if you didn't. You'd be a very old phone call. I think my company should be disbanded immediately. But it's there. No, all right. I mean, I shall allow a little bit more quibbling. I mean, there must be excess, though. There must be a point at which even you would go, well, we don't need that, and we don't need that, and we certainly don't need this.
Yeah, I think obviously they, you know, they can take the speed depending on the situation.
Why do they have to go so fast at all? Why can't they just go quite a nice sedate pace?
Well, they've got a lot of appointments. They do have a
So am I. So, you know, I bet you've got a busier diary than Prince William, eh? Well, we shall see. Well, we shall find out. 11:57 is the time. I genuinely, I can see the scope. Please God, the 83-year-old woman is okay. I can see the scope for some giggles here. You and I just had a bit of a giggle together. But I am. There is a platform of seriousness beneath my banter, and it's being partly eroded by Hayley's point. Is that you know, if you were in traffic, if you were stopping at traffic lights. But then why can't they do it like a police officer then? And just use the blues and twos as and when necessary, rather than tooling all the way from Buckingham Palace to Windsor Castle like a bat out of hell. It's coming up to 11:59. I'll take a few more calls on this. And then I will turn your attention to this story as well. I think we'll end with a slightly more light-hearted feel to proceedings. Tell me why this is wrong. Because I am in the odd position this morning of sort of being on the side of people who say, oh, don't be ridiculous, everything was fine in my day. A school has been forced to apologise after pupils were given a questionnaire in which they were asked to name the best-looking classmates. Now, if they ranked everyone in the class from 1 to 30 and published it, stuck it up on the blackboard at the end of the term, that would obviously be outrageous. That would be wrong. But if it was just the winner that got put up there, would that be wrong? I don't know a lot about body image and the challenges that young people are facing today. I'm certainly not going to jinx anything by suggesting that we've been spared these issues or similar. I think they're there bubbling under the surface for all of us. And I know that boys now feel a lot more conscious. Watch that dreadful Love Island business. Those lads in that have clearly spent several hours a day. It used to be someone like Elizabeth Hurley who dedicated that amount of time to grooming and to her physical appearance. It was like a full-time job. And now you've got people who've got full-time jobs who are also managing to find 2 or 3 hours a day to concentrate on their bikini lines and pectoral muscles and whatever it may be. So I get all of that, but if they're not publishing anything except the winner, is it so wrong, this notion that you vote on who's the best looking? In my experience, teenagers talk about little else than who they fancy. You know, the conversations are almost exclusively about whether so-and-so likes so-and-so or whether so-and-so is fit. I'm not going to lie, I'm no expert, but I should check with Callum during the news on exactly what it is that teenagers are obsessed with these days.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. From Global's newsroom at 12 o'clock, Downing Street says Mark Field has been suspended as a Foreign Office Minister after he was accused of assaulting a climate change protester. He was filmed physically removing the Greenpeace activist from a dinner in the City of London, where the Chancellor was giving his annual speech last night. LBC's Lucy Hoff has the latest.
The Foreign Office Minister has apologised to the activist after the footage emerged, referring himself to both the Conservative Party and Cabinet Office for investigation. A Number 10 spokeswoman says the Prime Minister has seen the footage and found it very concerning. Police are also said to be looking into reports of the matter. Then London Mayor Sadiq Khan said in a tweet that the MP's behaviour was shocking and unacceptable.
A Conservative MP has lost his seat in the House of Commons after a petition to recall him secured enough signatures to force a by-election. More than 10% of registered voters in Brecon and Radnorshire added their names to it after he was convicted of faking expenses claims. Mr Davis could decide to stand in the by-election. Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt are preparing to take their Conservative leadership campaigns to the party's 160,000 members. The finalists will take part in a series of hustings beginning in Birmingham tomorrow. Tory members will vote by post with the results announced next month. Health Secretary Matt Hancock, who pulled out of the contest, has told LBC why he's supporting Mr Johnson.
In this leadership contest, we've seen that there's a huge amount of talent in the Conservative Party. I'm backing Boris Johnson. I think he's the best man for the job. I think he'll deliver on Brexit, and then he'll get onto the positive domestic agenda that so many people want to see.
44 people have been arrested by police investigating allegations of child sexual abuse in West Yorkshire. Police say most of them were held in Kirklees, Bradford and Leeds over the past 2 weeks over allegations dating from 1995 to 2002. All of the suspects have been released under investigation. Bank of Scotland has been fined £45 million by the city watchdog. The Financial Conduct Authority says the bank failed to report suspicions of fraud at its branch in Reading. In 2017, a group of 6 bankers were jailed for their involvement in a loan scam perpetrated from the branch. The former Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech is returning to the club to take up a backroom role. He's been appointed as technical and performance advisor at Stamford Bridge after ending his playing career with Arsenal last season. The LBC Markets report a short time ago the FTSE 100 was up 5 points, 74.29, and the pound buys $1.26 and €1.12. LBC weather, fine and dry for many across England and Wales, with plenty of warm sunshine, sunny spells and showers for Scotland and Northern Ireland, a high of 21 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Simon Conway.
Meg, the driving instructor, is definitely almost 90% sure she's filing her VAT right. Kinda. But she'd be more confident with QuickBooks. QuickBooks is perfect for making tax digital and is HMRC recognized. Get up to 50% off your first 6 months. Maybe put it towards a new clutch. Making tax digital means monthly VAT returns are changing too. Are you ready for the 7th of July? Visit quickbooks.co.uk for details. QuickBooks, backing you.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with James O'Brien.
3 minutes after 12. I need a big horn sound effect. Can we get one? Because I'm about to summon the Usherwood, and then I'd like to blow an enormous horn. LBC's political editor Theo Usherwood will be joining us this hour to discuss that development with regard to Brecon and Radnorshire, the recall of the MP found to have falsified invoices on his expenses claim, and Conservative MP Christopher Davis. That's the second by-election caused by the criminal behaviour of sitting MPs. Of course, Peterborough was the other one. It's going to be interesting, that. It's an 8,000 majority for the Tories at the last election, with the Liberal Democrats in second, but it's historically a Liberal Democrat seat, much more so, I think, in recent years, up until the coalition government got in. It oscillates, actually, but it was Liberal Democrat from 97 and from 2001. No, so it is actually a really open field. UKIP got a very low vote, and I don't know how Brecon and Radnorshire voted on Brexit, but of course the Brexit party will be eyeing that up as well. It's very hard to see. Sorry, I've summoned the Usherwood, and now I'm doing some political analysis without him. Did we find a large horn? Okay, I shall. Let's not summon the Usherwood yet. Let's wait until we found our large horn, and then we will summon the Usherwood. But I don't see how Boris Johnson can pull off the kamikaze Brexit that he claims to want, and that he's certainly persuaded pudding like Mark François he wants to deliver. I don't see how he can do that without a general election, because he won't have the arithmetic in Parliament. And I don't see how he can call a general election if they don't win in Brecon and Radnor. But I'm doing political analysis without our political editor. So everyone just relax for a moment. We'll get back to the conversation about Royal Motorcades momentarily. Summon the Usherwood. Theo will be joining us shortly. 6 minutes after 12 is the time. Do the royal family really need these motorcades? I can see circumstances in which they do, and I can see some cases, of course, with regard to security. But do they have to go so fast? Do they have to be so aggressive in their driving? And do they have to be used so often? Genuinely. I mean, why can't they go around the place unaccompanied? There's no security risk. Just get tinted windows. Do you remember that advert when we were kids? Why am I saying when we were kids? I'm working with a 20-year-old today. You remember that Huggies got tinted windows? I can't remember what that was for, but it was one of those lovely catchphrases. That born of an advert's got tinted windows. It was like a mark of sophistication. If you had tinted windows, you'd get all the girls. So, if you want to avoid having these aggressive motorcades and outriders, just get tinted windows. Linda's in Manchester. Linda, what's going on? I bet she's fallen asleep. Linda! Linda!
Oh, hello.
Hello, Linda. What's on your mind?
I was going to say, welcome to Freddie Mercury. I've just been watching him and Mum Stewart. Oh, God, never mind, I can't say it now. Sorry. Yeah, the reason the cavalcade, really, in this day and age,
yes.
What cavalcades used to be used for, sorry.
Not called cavalcades, you clown. They're called motorcades. A cavalcade is a completely different thing.
Okay, thank you for correcting me.
That's all right. Sorry for calling you a clown. Inexcusable behaviour. But hey, at least I didn't grab you by the neck and march you out of the studio.
Oh, I know. I thought that was disgraceful behaviour or to be flogged. Anyway, that was a joke.
Figure of speech, Nigel. Don't ring the police.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So anyway, I was in Australia actually, and they can drive slowly. They can.
Yes.
It's a very slow profession, if you like to call it, but to be honest, James, most people will ultimately stop what the band, the drums and pipes of the band. So there is that. But then again, they just don't tend to. They don't really need to do it because if you draw attention to yourself, you're letting people know, I am this one, I'm the area,
Well, this is a great point against the security argument. If you've got God forbid that somebody did wish harm upon the royal family, they might as well have a whopping great sign on top saying, there's a prince in this Range Rover, there's a prince in... Whereas if they just drove quietly around the place with tinted windows, they wouldn't have any problem at all.
Absolutely, like the Davis thing. Is it Davis royal family?
I think so, yeah, they go to work. I mean, but the Queen catches the train from King's Cross to King's Lynn quite often. When she's going to Sandringham, yes?
Like I said, every time I was here was when I lived in Melbourne, Australia, so I wouldn't really know that. Maybe my cousin was, he lives in London, he's a music teacher, so maybe he's been, but I don't know.
I'm with you on this. They seem to be, I think, taking the mickey. And Hayley was a brilliant caller, and the last thing I'd want to do is put Hayley out of business. But she used to be in police protection, and now she's in the private sector providing similar services. She's bound to say what she said. What would the security risk be if they put the kids in the back in the car seats? William can drive. Kate sits in the passenger seat. They've got tinted windows on one of those big Range Rovers. Then no one's going to know it's them. Or if they have a crash. Yeah. Linda, take care. Richard is in Glasgow. Richard, what would you like to say?
Good afternoon.
Hello, Richard. Oh, hang on, Richard, wait there. We've summoned the Usherwood. Sorry. I'll be with you momentarily. Okay? Theo, hello.
Hello, James.
How are you?
Very well, very well.
Did you hear our new sound effect?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you're going to have to get used to it. So when you hear this, it's like, remember the bat signal?
Yeah.
Used to shine in the sky above Gotham City, and it meant the Batman had to make his way to HQ as soon as possible, to the Batcave. But we've instituted the radio equivalent. I'm just going to see if it works, all right? Stay there a moment. Summon the Usherwood! Here's the Usherwood with some political analysis.
And now I've got to do a really serious report about the Conservative MP for Brecon and Radnorshire, Chris Davies, who has just been recalled. Now, of course, this recall petition was launched after he admitted falsely claiming outside the Crown Court in March that he had submitted fake expenses claims for 9 landscape photographs in his constituency office in Bewley, Wales, and he was sentenced to 150 hours community service and fined as a result. Now, under the law changed in 2015, MPs who are convicted can face a recall petition where 10% of the electorate in Brecon and Radnorshire, that equates to just over 5,000 voters, sign a petition at the local town hall saying that they want to get rid of their MP. And that threshold was reached last night. It's been announced this morning, and there is going to be a by-election which the Liberal Democrats will have a strong claim in. It was a Liberal Democrat seat from 1997 to 2015, then became a Tory seat. Mr Davies actually increased the majority in 2017, but it's only 8,000, and that would bring, if the Liberal Democrats win it, the new Prime Minister's majority down to 3.
Crikey. And I mean, is it not a test of the electability of not necessarily the new Prime Minister, but Boris Johnson probably needs some sort of general election if he's to proceed with a kamikaze Brexit, and this will be the first indicator of whether he's likely to win one? Because as you've explained many, many times, it's the size of the majority that prevented Theresa May from essentially doing anything.
Yes, that is one way of looking at it. The other way you could say as a counter-argument that given what has happened to the Conservative MP, that there may be a backlash against Mr Davies, and therefore...
Not to take it out of context, so to speak. And do we know how the constituency feels about Brexit?
No, I could quickly Google it and come back to you. Sorry,
don't worry. I summoned you. I mean, the horn, you can't be expected to have everything at your fingertips after getting the horn in quite such a spectacular
It's a rural Welsh constituency. On that basis, if it was to follow the form book of other rural Welsh constituencies, it would have voted to leave the European Union.
So the Brexit Party will be trying to get some attention there as well.
If the Brexit Party tried to get some attention there, then they could, of course, well end up splitting the Conservative vote, and that would, of course, play into the hands of the Liberal Democrats. But what's also interesting, I think I spoke to you about it yesterday, or maybe it was Sheila. If you take into account that in the fourth ballot yesterday, 2 Conservative MPs spoiled their ballot papers, whether they did it by drawing anything rude on those ballot papers, because they just couldn't simply stomach any of the candidates. And then you take into account losing this, if the Conservatives lose this seat, it gives you a very clear indication of how perilous Boris Johnson or Jeremy Hunt's government will be, how vulnerable it will be to a no-confidence motion should Labour decide to submit one, or in the House of Commons in the last week before the summer recess, or the first week back in September.
So Boris Johnson could be Prime Minister for a matter of hours.
He could be Prime Minister for a matter of hours. The other thing to remember, and it hasn't really been talked about, but I think it's going to become... Yeah, or Jeremy Hunt. But one thing that hasn't been talked about is that Boris Johnson or Jeremy Hunt may well come in and they'll say, I have a mandate from the country to deliver Brexit. But, of course, they wouldn't be able to prorogue Parliament, suspend Parliament, in order to go back and try and begin a new parliamentary session with a new legislative agenda about what they want to do for the country, because, of course, they can't rely on the DUP, and therefore they'll have to stick with Theresa May's mandate, which goes back to 2017, when she signed up to that deal with the DUP, which lasts for the duration of this Parliament, and is already the longest Parliament since the Second World War.
Yes, indeed. And finally, entirely speculative, obviously. He's been suspended as a Foreign Office Minister, as you know. But if Mark Field were to be charged with common assault and convicted, there could be another by-election on the horizon as well.
Yes, that would trigger, of course, if he was to be convicted of common assault, that would trigger another by-election, and that's in cities of Westminster, and that is another target seat, and in particular, it's a target seat for the Labour Party, and if he was to lose that, and that's entirely speculative, of course, it doesn't necessarily need a recall petition. The pressure may be to such an extent, although I don't think this is going to be the case, that he would decide to stand down as a Member of Parliament. But if he were to, then that is, people have been talking about it, but if he were to, and there were to be a general election, then Labour would have a strong shout in any by-election, and that would reduce the new Prime Minister's majority to 2.
2-2. And finally, Theo Ashwood, do you remember at the Conservative Party conference when a male comedian stormed the stage while the Prime Minister was on it?
Yes, I do.
Could you remind us how many Conservative Conservative MPs grabbed him by the neck as he posed a very real and present danger to your actual female Prime Minister.
Yeah, but they were going to, James.
Oh, were they going to?
David Davis is a member.
Yes.
He was a member. He was in a territorial SAS.
Yes.
And he was just on the verge, as
Right.
he told journalists after, just on the verge of getting up, jumping up from his seat and grabbing the said comedian and throwing him out with the skills that he learned whilst he was in the territorial SAS.
Oh,
But that's a really,
counting his lucky stars, isn't he? Eh?
yeah.
Go on, you're about to say something interesting.
No, that was it. That was the detail that I remembered, was that they were all about to leap up and stop.
I wonder if things would have been a little bit different had it been a smaller woman on the stage. Then this instinctive reaction that Mark Field-Jones kicked in last night would have taken over. Theo Ashwood, thank you so much, and we shall keep your horn in the car. Theo speaking to us live from his sedan chair there as he made his way home after a hard week at the coalface. And I should credit Marina Hyde of The Guardian. Pound for pound, by far the most incisive is not even a word, James. By far the most insightful and funny writer working in British journalism today. I credit her for that point. She writes, notable how many Tories defending Mark Field on the basis that she could have been armed just sat there when that comedian approached May during her conference speech. And when I say how many, I mean it was literally all of them just sat there.
This is LBC.
Need to get your chocolate fixed, like, now? Simply press the dashboard chocolate button to zap the chocolate of your choice right into your hand.
A dashboard chocolate button chocolate teleporter will never happen. But with a new BP Me Rewards card, getting more of the treats you love more often will. Search BP Me Rewards to find out more. BP, every day, brighter.
Big shout out to Craig. If he's your builder, he probably won't be there today as his exhaust and van have got their separate ways. How's he going to dig his way out of this one?
If only you'd hide his vans with Northgate. Their plans include free breakdown recovery and replacement vehicles.
They've hit the nail on the head there.
Exactly. Northgate call it Vanonomics.
For smart ways to hire vans for your business, search Northgate Vehicle Hire. Conditions apply, subject to availability.
Some people find love by chance. I found love in my Citroen dealership. I looked at new Citroen C5 Aircross SUV with advanced comfort seats, and boom! They said, pay £1,794 up front, then £299 a month for 35 months. I love it. Visit your local Citroen dealership and find love too. New Citroen C5 Aircross SUV.
Citroen UK Limited, a credit broker, not a lender. Offer on pure take 36-speed manual, 10,000 miles per annum. You won't own the car. Personal contract hire terms, eligibility, and return conditions apply. TSA Finance UK Limited.
I want to live in a world where we still have polar bears, where we reduce CO2 emissions. I want to live in a beautiful world.
If you want to help fight climate change, get a smart meter. They can't solve climate change on their own, but with a smarter, more energy-efficient grid they help to create, they're a start. Search I Want a Smart Meter or call 0300 131 5555 today for the campaign for a smarter grid.
Eligibility may vary. Available in England, Scotland and Wales. Calls from UK landlines and mobiles charged at a standard rate.
Let's hear it for Ozzy, who's a nature-loving pug. He thought he'd get a buzz out of eating a bumblebee in the garden. Ouch! Oh. Luckily, Pets in a Pickle had little Ozzy covered, and now he's back in the garden chasing butterflies. For pet insurance policies as unique as they are, visit petsinApickle.co.uk.
Swimsuit tick, sun cream tick, holiday money, big tick. Right, I'm off to pick up all the holiday bits from M&S.
What about the holiday money?
I'm picking that up from M&S too. They've got a new click and collect travel money service. It's just so easy.
I didn't know M&S did travel money.
There's a lot you don't know, like how many outfits I've ordered. M&S Bank's new click and collect travel money service gives you our best exchange rates with preferential rates for M&S cardholders. Order online and collect in store. £250 minimum order. Terms and conditions apply. Search M&S Travel Money.
James O'Brien on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
20 minutes after 12, with no sort of calls for the abolition of the monarchy or similar, I do find myself wondering whether or not, especially given, and if you're just tuning in, allow me to fill you in briefly on why I care. Because where we live in West London, we've noticed a big increase in the number of royal convoys coming through. And I presume but it's a matter of choice. They don't have to use the full convoy every time that they're travelling, do they? I know that Prince William was well known at one point for tooling around town on quite a powerful motorbike. He liked having a motorbike. It is, I don't think it's apocryphal, but I'm not 100% sure. It was certainly widely believed that Prince Philip in his younger days used to drive around in a black cab. And when he got into that accident the other hang on a minute. He was just driving around normally like a civilian, wasn't he, when he had a crash the other day? Do you remember? Prince Philip got into bother. So this idea that it's a security issue is certainly open to negotiation rather than a sort of slam dunk. So it is because of where we live that we've noticed this increase in the number of large convoys of Range Rovers surrounded by big, powerful motorbikes, upon which police officers sit with whistles, which they blow quite loud, very, very loudly, and everyone has to get out of the way, and the bikes sort of have right of way everywhere, it seems. And I genuinely don't think it's fair. I don't think that the duties of young members of the royal family are so urgent that they have to ride roughshod over the traffic rules and regulations that the rest of us are obliged to follow. I genuinely, the more I talk about this, oddly, the more sort of serious I'm finding the subject. And of course, for the family of the 83-year-old woman currently in hospital after being hit by one of the outriders, it's already about as serious can be. Richard's in Glasgow. Mate, I've kept you waiting for ages. It's perfectly acceptable if you're not there. How about that, see? Magic. Absolute magic. Could we check next time, though? Colin isn't working. Colin, what would you like to say?
Hello, James. I think I have been on the line for a little while as well, and
thank you for staying.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, your previous caller, yourself just now, kind of not the point that most of the points I was going to make. My dad is actually one of those riders on the motorbike, as part of those motorcades.
Oh, cool.
And he worked around Westminster, all of that sort of thing.
When did he retire, if you don't mind me asking?
He retired for medical reasons 2 years ago. He's passed now last year.
Sorry for your loss, Colin. But it was the Queen. So it was very much the current sort of generations of royals that he would have dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. And he gave me a large number of very entertaining stories about that.
Which you're not allowed to tell. You're not allowed to tell on national radio.
And on heart, I don't know anything with women. No, the main point I wanted to make was that, it was part security.
But hang on, what about Prince Philip just driving around then the other day and having a little crash? I mean, where's the security risk?
That is exactly the point I wanted to make as well, because if it is for all of the security, then it does get a little bit undermined by the fact that you then do have private vehicles being operated in that private fashion.
He was on his own. He was on his own on the A149 in a Land Rover at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Perhaps completely through the head of him might have avoided the situation that ended up happening.
Yeah, but you can't say that they need to have a convoy. They need to have a police escort because he shouldn't be driving. No, I mean, that's an even more controversial, Colin, isn't it?
Yeah, but rather it's a different issue. And then I think at that point, all you've really got is the idea of the constitutional function.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking, genuinely.
But it's the idea of, it's almost sort of the American style of doing things, where you roll through the giant motorcade, and I think this is one of the other points you made as well, wasn't it? It's to look at us, look at where we're going.
No, I didn't make that point, but I don't know whether they care about the people looking or whether they just get a great sense. It's a bit like being in I mean, Colin, you must have been on a lot of guest lists at Ibiza nightclubs in your time.
Oh,
yeah, so you get that little feeling, don't you, as you strut to the front of the queue, you see the clipboard lady at the front, and you waltz through into the VIP section. It makes you feel a bit special. It shouldn't. Yeah, especially if, like me, you're always wanging on about fairness and equality as you make your way into the VIP section at Queen's Club on Wednesday. It makes you feel a bit special if you're a bit sad and pathetic like I am. But if you're a member of the royal family, you probably don't need that to feel a bit, if entitled privilege of an afternoon. You're an actual prince, mate. You don't need a motorcade to make you feel special. I don't know. Thank you, Colin. Richard is in Glasgow. Has he woken up? Richard, what's on your mind?
Afternoon, how are you?
Very well. Sorry to keep you for so long. I'm going off on tangents at the moment, like it's going out of fashion. I think you were going to make a point about the convoy.
Yeah. So I'm agreeing with yourself. I think it's unnecessary. I've got a lot of respect for the royal family. Yes. And when if you think back to when Harry and William, both the wives were given birth, I think it was Harry that actually when they both left the hospital when they took the little one home. Harry and William actually get into a Range Rover and drove themselves.
Did they?
Which I totally respect. And I think that should be the case all round. I don't understand why it's necessary for convoys. I think convoys should only be applicable to an emergency such as the police or the Prime Minister. But in terms of our family, I just think it's an unnecessary and it's an expense to the taxpayers having to pay.
And yes, I mean, the security argument notwithstanding, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't actually stand up to scrutiny because, as you remind us, it's not just Prince Philip that has form for driving around unaccompanied on his own. And then my slightly tongue-in-cheek point about tinted. Diana did it all the time. Tinted windows as well. You know, the idea that you're going to pull up at the traffic lights, look across, see Kate Middleton sitting there, and start throwing things at her, it just doesn't wash.
That's right. Cars nowadays are built where they're secure. Those cars are built for loyalty. They're bulletproof cars. I usually have to time if it's the Range Rovers have got bodyguards in the cars. So, they're employed to do their job. So if they feel they need a convoy, then why have a bodyguard in the car? It's pointless.
Yes, although it can't just be for kind of, impact and impressiveness, can it? I mean, clearly there is a security argument, but it's not quite the catch-all that perhaps we thought it was because Haley was such a good advocate for it and has the background in close protection. 12:27 is the time. Lee's in Dartford. Lee, what can you tell us?
Hello, James.
Hello.
Please be nice to me, one of your biggest fans.
Of course I will. We're not going to have an argument about this, are we? It's not exactly Brexit, mate. Go on.
No. So, I don't know if anybody mentioned it, but we're obviously talking about the outriders and the speed that they're going at. So, I run a security company, Don't Transportation, for nearly 25 years. The reason that they're going so fast is they are going up to, we call them choke points, so they're going up to the next junction. So there will have to be a crossroad, there will be a T-junction.
Yes.
They're only there is to stop the traffic, as a couple of your callers have said already, that a stationary vehicle becomes a target. And if you look through history in terms of assassination attempts, the majority of them are attempted at junctions, like I said, as choke points. So their job is to make sure that the
You're right. The one that I get aerated about is a crossroads, actually. So what do they do in between the junctions and the crossroads? Do they not blow their whistles and ring their bells?
Well, I'm not the police, and I'm not an expert in terms of how they operate. But I would imagine there are two teams. So there'll be an advanced team that will go to one junction, and as the motorcade passes that junction, the second team of outriders will overtake the motorcade and will go into the next junction. So they're almost like club leaping.
Yes.
It's really just to make sure that they're not high targets at the end of the day.
Are they though? I mean, I'm not making light of the threat or the risks that they follow, but other politicians don't have this. Anybody else that was a high risk of assassination after the murder of Joe Cox, you could have argued that every MP in the country should have had this sort of protection. And also, the only way in which it could be targeted is if the route was public. And without, I'm not being glib, I promise you. But, they could just take a different route. They could get Waze on their phone.
They could, and I can't say too much in terms of what other plans that they do. But
well, yeah, I grant you, if it's a published appointment and there's only really one route that they're likely to take, then your point stands. But the amount of time...
So a team will plan 3, 4 different routes. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to be one step ahead of terrorist organisations. Remember, these guys are, from a terrorist point of view,
they are prime time, much more than any MP. You do make a very, very important point, of course. It's amazing how quickly we sort of forget about these sort of threats, but the IRA or indeed Al-Qaeda or Islamic State would we've seen would see these humans, these individuals, as much more than mere humans. There would be huge, in their warped imaginations, results. Good point, actually, possibly a little overdue. Thank you, Lee. Speaking of matters military, I've got a list here of the British Army's values and standards. It's published, it's on their own website. And given that Johnny Mercer MP and Bob Stewart, former army officer, have both talked recently about their support for Boris Johnson being somehow contingent upon their perception of him as someone who would be good in a military context, I thought I'd run through after the news the British Army's published values and standards. And we would have a look at how Boris Johnson's record fits in with those values and standards of the British Army. It's 12:31. Thomas Watts has your headlines.
Mark Field has been suspended as a Foreign Office Minister after he physically removed a climate change protester from a black tie dinner. He's apologised to the Greenpeace activist after he was filmed grabbing her by the back of the neck. The Conservative MP has lost his seat in the House of Commons after a petition to recall him secured enough signatures. A by-election will be held in Brecon and Radnorshire after Chris Davies was convicted of making a false expenses claim. Bank of Scotland has been fined £45 million by the city watchdog. The Financial Conduct Authority says the bank failed to report suspicions of fraud at its branch in Reading. LBC weather, fine and dry for many across England and Wales, with plenty of warm sunshine this afternoon. Sunny spells and showers across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. A high of 21 degrees.
This is LBC. If a bank or a financial advisor sold you an investment that lost money, don't just think, well, there's nothing I can do about it now. Because it might have been missold, and you could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. At Goodwin Barrett, we can do a quick check to discover how much you could be owed. All you have to do to start your investment assessment with Goodwin Barrett is text GOOD to 60777. Text GOOD to 60777 now.
Feeling pinkish? Introducing the Snack Geolocator Slingshot. Simply pull on your horn, open your window, and wait for the yummy goodness to find your exact location.
Oh dear, the Snack Geolocator Slingshot will never happen. But with a new BP Me Rewards card, getting more of the snacks you love more often will. Search BP Me Rewards to find out more. BP, every day, brighter. A big shout out to Steph, whose lighting business has been hit with some unexpected MOT repair bills for her delivery vans. Let's hope she hasn't got a short fuse.
If only she'd hide her vans with Northgate. They include servicing, maintenance, and road tax in one simple payment.
Oh, sounds like a bright idea.
Exactly. Northgate call it Vanonomics.
For smart ways to hire vans for your business, search Northgate Vehicle Hire.
Clearance at John Lewis and Partners Oxford Street is now on. There are thousands of great offers from kitchen and homeware to fashion and beauty, as well as expert advice from our partners and a minimum 2-year guarantee on all our electricals. More of what you love for less. Clearance now on.
I've got friends coming over, and look at the state of you. Garden furniture fail. Get to B&Q. Our stylish, versatile denier range is perfect for entertaining. It's made from hardware and acacia wood and features folding chairs, dining tables, storage, and more. You can do it when you B&Q it.
You can complain free to your lender or the financial ombudsman about missold PPI. Alternatively, if you haven't got the time or the inclination, then just get the claims guys to manage the claims process for you. With the August 29th deadline approaching, time's at a premium anyway. So if you can't find your paperwork or you're not even sure you have PPI, it's definitely time to make a decision and start your PPI claim before it's too late. Text ANSWER to 66777. Text ANSWER to 66777 now.
The claims guys. I want to live in a world where we still have polar bears, where we reduce CO2 emissions. I want to live in a beautiful world.
If you want to help fight climate change, get a smart meter. They can't solve climate change on their own, but with a smarter, more energy-efficient grid they help to create, they're a start. Search I Want a Smart Meter or call 0300 131 5555 today for the campaign for a smarter grid.
Eligibility may vary. Available in England, Scotland and Wales. Calls from UK landlines and mobiles charged at a standard rate. James O'Brien on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
12:33. 11:35 is the time. Wayne and Baz have been getting out of his box again, so I shall do this entirely for his entertainment. I did explain to you, or suggest to you earlier, that if Eric Joyce, the then MP for Falkirk East, hadn't got drunk and headbutted somebody in the House of Commons bar, that Jeremy Corbyn would not be leader of the Labour Party today. And I discovered this while reading rather good account of the history of the modern Labour Party by a chap called David Cogan with a K. I've just reviewed it for the Times Literary Supplement. So, working on the principle that Wayne hasn't yet received his copy of this week's Times Literary Supplement, it's actually really interesting. And I was reminded of it because David Miliband was in the studio earlier today. And it was, of course, his brother Ed Miliband who introduced the new rules for Labour Party membership. And the reason why he introduced them was the perception or reports that a union, a trade union leader was trying to insert his favourite candidate into.
Well, no, you should click on. What are you looking at now?
Was convicted of I'm looking at the one that says Reeves live stream. So it was that specific caused by that specific incident that Miliband to bring those new rules. And it was those new rules that allowed a huge influx.
What's, you know, the actual screen, what's underneath it? Does it say basic info, stream options?
To join the Labour Party and not just vote him in, but also keep him in when the first attempt to
Chris Reeves live stream live on. Oh, right, it's all. This is it. It says May 20th.
Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. Do what I said.
Hold on, I'll go back and I'll find it. Yeah, hold on. I've got the wrong one.
What you do, you click on. Look, Simon. Listen, Simon. This is nothing to do with it, Simon. You have to go back to the C. You go back to the C, and you click on Creator Studio. And then, when that comes up on the left, you click on Live Streaming.
12:37 is the time. My apologies for I'm just going to move on briefly before the end of the programme to the conversation about this beauty contest because I just find it genuinely fascinating.
I can see the Memorial Library banner.
So that, and can you hear? Click on the audio symbol, and you should get the audio. I've got the radio. I've got LBC playing. It's at the bottom of the screen.
Ex-army officer said, I'll tell you this, one quick way of me assessing people is whether I would trust.
No, I mean on the actual, the live streaming screen.
This is why he was supporting Boris Johnson, because he thinks he'd be good at leading a platoon of 36 soldiers if they had to do an attack. Johnny Mercer came out with similar support for Boris Johnson, in which he cited his own military service as somehow perfect.
But it's only a little radio, it's not very loud.
Talk about something completely different. I quite liked him. That's why I kind of made politics.
Well, turn it up.
And then I sort of feel a little bit held back from my characteristically frank and robust criticism of them subsequently. But I actually put it on Twitter because he was saying Johnson would have been good in the army. That's why I'm going to make him leader.
On the right,
I put a list of the British Army's values and standards and asked him to reply with which one he thinks Boris Johnson actually lives up to or fulfills. I haven't heard back. So let's run through them. The British Army's values and standards as applicable to the man most likely to become our next Prime Minister. Courage. So this would be the bloke who manufactured a foreign trip so that he wouldn't actually have to be in the House of Commons on the day that it voted about the third runway at Heathrow, which he vowed to lie down in front of a bulldozer to stop while seeking to become the MP for Uxbridge. That's the promise he made to his putative and now actual constituents. So you need courage. It's hard to know which story from the Boris Johnson back catalogue one should pick in order to demonstrate his absence of courage. It's got a touch of the Cowardly Lions about it, hasn't it, actually? But pre-Emerald City, sort of think about not just the hair. Discipline. I don't think even Boris Johnson's biggest fans would argue that he's possessed of even a scintilla of discipline. I know some of it's contrived. Jeremy Vine has told an astonishing story about how all of the apparent sort of befuddled nature is utterly contrived. And
Okay.
I know for a fact that he
Right.
messes up his hair.
So it
before
basically
going onto the
works.
stage.
I've got
Most people
another
tidy up
technical
their
issue
things
that
I used to like about.
the HDMI
So
cable from the
discipline.
camera is
Let's
carrying
just,
the
I'm afraid,
picture,
make
but
sure
it's not carrying the
that's
sound.
Gary Ratcliffe. Boris Johnson put his foot.
So the only sound I'm getting at the minute is from the sort of computer microphone. So I have to work out, I don't know, the HDMI is supposed to carry both. But it's like, I might try and get another HDMI lead and see if that does it. But it's, you know, all this technology, it's like fucking neurotic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know. I've got an HDMI cable here, but it's not long. It wouldn't be long enough for your purposes, I think.
No, it can be short. It's only got to be about 3-4 feet. Right. But anyway, basically, it's going to work. That's the basic thing. Because if I have to get an external microphone, I'll do that. You know, because you can actually plug a microphone into the computer mini jack if you have to. But okay. All right, Simon. Yeah. No, she's not responding. I emailed her to try and get her to do the same thing as you, just to sort of, you know, reassure her that it's going to work. But she isn't. She's blanking. So presumably she's got her mobile, her Marks Memorial Library mobile turned off. All right then. Good luck, Simon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye now.